Hey there, friends. Welcome to School of Tomorrow. We tend to do a place based education, meaning I encourage teachers, students to focus on where they are and develop outwards from there to a more cosmic story of, the story of humans. Perhaps you want to start and end just right where you are, and that's an effective teaching technique. So I also talk about where I am though in cyberspace. It's not just geographically, and had a brush with Oblivion for my GrunchNet site recently. Let's see, where is that? GrunchNet is hosted at GoDaddy, and it's the lowest, most budget account possible, and it's subject to malware attacks. And it had been taken over unbeknownst to me, by some redirecting. You'd go there from a search engine and it would redirect you to like some pharmacology site that would probably just take your money. It was all bogus, right? It's spam. So I was like hosting Synergetics on the web there. And that's like an archaeological layer. That's like the Roman city under the modern city. It's like back in the 90s when the web was new and we were hand coding our HTML back then. And all these graphics, like I was probably one of the first to exhibit Chris Wywalt's um, GIF here, and I actually met the guy in Manhattan. Like he was from Hoboken, I think. We spent some time hanging out. So I've always really been into this stuff, and the thought that I had all of a sudden lost this. See, the malware wasn't the problem. It was that after GoDaddy cleaned it out, and they have a utility for that, I went in and by hand started messing around, deleting stuff, and before you know it, I had completely corrupted it. And you go to this website, and it's just like a 403, and has it been destroyed forever? And so there's a lot here I still care about. But I have to remember the decision has been made that the whole number volumes is not something we need to teach. It's not important. We're not going to share it with the kids. Now, if it had just been a poem etched somewhere innocently, like an Emily Dickinson poem, a visual poem, then I think my getting it into American transcendentalism might not be difficult. But the thing is, it's wired up to a lot of other concerning materials, and no one really wants to. It's like the decision is implicit. People have decided not to study any of this material because everyone else they talk to seems lukewarm about it. So a decision was made, but I'd say without much consciousness. It just kind of turned out that way. People are just herd animals or whatever. Now that Gerald's materials have continued to evolve at such a pace, I feel is good news because one way that we use the concentric hierarchy to teach is to bring in some programming, right? By the way, after my website travails, and the other website is also dubious right now, but the person who let me know that my website was turning into a spam site um, also has a very interesting site called Dome, which I've joined. I've got a profile here. Let's see, how do I go to my profile? My profile. So I've taken the opportunity to expand the community a little bit more, from my point of view, that is, and to continue to show people what it is that we have made a decision to not share. I just want to make sure that you're clear about what we are going to toss or have tossed in the last 40 years. And it's this table on the screen here, this whole number of volumes table. This is what I think Bucky Fuller should get credit for. but everyone else thinks A, it's the dome, and B, that wasn't really his, he plagiarized it. In other words, if you're on the bandwagon to diss Bucky, you don't even know about this chart probably. You never took the time, right? So in my opinion, you have no credible opinion. But the map, the lifestyle that we could have, the stuff wired up to the concentric hierarchy, I think economically was troubling to people who worried about its effect on their wallet. And so they decided we could sacrifice this little piece, this little academic nugget of whole number volumes. We could just throw that out. People don't need that. And there we go. That's what happens. But I question it, continue to question it, and have created a fair amount of material, but a lot of it's precarious, right? Low bus numbers, as typified by the last few days, where my websites are like hanging by a thread, so to speak. A lot of this stuff is just hanging by a thread. That's an interesting, I think, somewhat suspenseful story from my point of view. All right, talk to you soon.